Welcome back to OIC. Today we will be talking about the life cycle of a plant. Most plants begin life as a seed. Seeds come in a variety of shapes and sizes, but they all have the same purpose: to start a new plant. When conditions are right, seeds begin a process called germination. In simple terms, germination is the process of a seed developing into a plant. To understand that process, we need to know the main parts of a seed and their functions. All fully developed seeds contain three basic parts: the embryo, the cotyledon, and the seed coat. The embryo is the part of the seed that will become the new plant. It contains the radicle, which becomes the root, the hypocotyl, which becomes the stem, and the plumule, which becomes the first leaves. The cotyledon, which is the biggest part of the seed, contains stored energy for the developing embryo. The seed coat is the outer layer that protects the seed's internal structures. All seeds need water, oxygen, and the proper temperature in order to germinate. The soil temperature must be warm enough so seeds can germinate, but not so hot as to damage the seed or the developing seedling. The first stage of germination occurs when the seed is exposed to water. The seed absorbs water through its seed coat. As this happens, the seed coat softens. Next, the seed begins converting the starch in the cotyledon to sugar. This provides energy for the developing embryo during germination. As more water is absorbed, the seed cells start to elongate and divide. The radicle, or primary root, is usually the first part of the embryo to break through the seed coat. It grows downward to anchor the seed in place and absorb water and nutrients from the soil. Next, the shoot and seed leaves emerge from the seed coat. Soon, the shoot emerges from the soil. The seed tissue will diminish as the plant's roots, stems, and leaves develop. Once the seedling is established and has used up all the energy in the cotyledon, it gets all of its nutrition from the soil and the sun. To do this, it uses photosynthesis and respiration. Photosynthesis is the process by which green plants transform light energy into chemical energy. During photosynthesis, light energy is captured and used to convert water, carbon dioxide, and minerals into oxygen and energy-rich organic compounds. The process of respiration in plants involves using the sugars produced during photosynthesis to produce energy for the plant. Plants use both of these processes to produce their food. While photosynthesis takes place during the day in the green leaves and stems, respiration occurs day and night in the leaves, stems, and roots of the plant. Once the plant has grown to maturity, it's time to carry out its prime objective, the production of more seeds. That usually means flowers. Flowers are the seed-producing structures for most plants. Typically, flowers consist of sepals, petals, stamens, and carpels. Sepals and petals are the vegetative flower organs. Stamens and carpels are the reproductive organs. Flowers must be pollinated in order to produce seeds. Pollination is the transfer of pollen from the anther of the stamen to the stigma of the carpel. Pollen carries the instructions the flower needs to produce seeds. A few flowers are able to pollinate themselves. However, most plants have developed mechanisms that prevent self-pollination. Cross-pollination is the transfer of pollen among flowers of separate plants. Cross-pollination is often carried out by animals. Animals that do this job are called pollinators. Pollinators carry pollen on their bodies from flower to flower as they go about their daily routines. Plants have evolved to attract different kinds of pollinators. This accounts for much of the variety of features found in flowers. Some plants are pollinated by wind or water rather than animals. Their flowers are often dull and lack nectar that would be used to attract pollinators. Once pollinated, the flower develops seeds in the ovule at the base of the carpel. Plants have developed a wide variety of methods for dispersing their seeds. Because plants can't walk around and take their seeds to other places, they have devised other ways to spread them. The most common methods are wind, water, animals, explosion, and fire. If you have ever blown on a dandelion head and watched the seeds float away, you have seen wind dispersal. Seeds from plants like dandelions are light and have feathery bristles that can be carried long distances on the wind. Some plants use water as a means of seed dispersal. One such plant is the mangrove tree. Mangrove trees live in estuaries where the water level rises and falls with the tide. If a mangrove seed falls during low tide, it can begin to root in the soil. If the seeds fall in the water, they are carried away by the tide and grow somewhere else. Many plants have fleshy fruit around their seeds. The fruit, along with its seeds, is usually eaten by birds and animals. Chemicals in their digestive systems helps to weaken the tough coats on these seeds. Birds and animals then travel away from the parent plant and eventually disperse the seeds in their droppings. The explosion method of seed dispersal isn't quite as exciting as it may sound. Some plants like peas, poppies, and flax have seed pods that dry out once the seeds are ripe. When dry, the pods split open and the seeds scatter. Fire usually does more harm to plants than good. Plants can't run away from a fire, so some have developed a way to help their seeds survive. Sequoia trees require the heat from a fire before their cones will open and release the seeds. The intensity and timing of the fire is important. It needs to be hot enough to trigger the cone to open, but if fires are too frequent, there isn't enough time for plants to grow big enough to make new seeds. Plants do all this work so that when the conditions are right, the whole process starts over again.